watching Newzroom Afrika's continuing coverage of the ANC's anniversary celebrations, a party that's turning 110 years old this weekend. Not without drama, though. In the last hour, the lights went out in the middle of President Cyril Ramaphosa's speech. Just as he was about to conclude, NEC member Naledi Pandor telling Xoli Mngambi a short time ago that she does not believe it was embarrassing because the president had in fact managed to get through most of his speech and was indeed concluding. Nonetheless, he did leave the venue based on security advice, along with the deputy president of the country and the ANC, that's David Mabuza. Let's take you back to Polokwane now, continue our live coverage from there. And Xoli, Naledi Pandor saying, to paraphrase, let's not be hysterical and wait for the facts. But what are the facts?
Well, Tembegile, you asked me about what are the facts. Perhaps the best person to answer that question is the man who speaks for the African National Congress, Pule Mabe, who joins me now. Mr. Mabe, a very important question has got to come to the ANC. You were standing side by side the Treasurer General, who said, blame the venue owners that we have rented this property from for the glitches here of power. Have you had a conversation with the people who own this venue?
Well, Xoli, perhaps to amplify what the TG conveyed was that the African National Congress doesn't own this venue. We will have hired this venue for purposes of having our own event. Those that were tasked with the responsibility of organizing are in touch with the management of this facility to really understand what could have transpired. It appeared to us, just at face value, to just have been a power trip. But even with that, it is important that we get to have fuller information or understanding of what could have happened, because this happens at a time when the president was just about to conclude the beautiful address that he was giving to the gala dinner. So we wouldn't really want to go into details of what we do not know. Actually, what the TG said is sufficient and represent the view of the ANC at this initial stage.
Mr. Mabe, the question is, have they said anything to you yet about the power trip?
Well, they are talking to those of our comrades who are organizing. You know, I mean, Xoli, you have been pulling each one of us side by side. I mean, there would not have been time for us to actually, so those that are dealing with this will be able to then say, upon engagement with the management of the hotel, this is what we've established. What I can tell you now is that when you drive around the hotel precinct, you will see maintenance cars just next to those, those power boxes. It looks like, it appears as if there is something that is being done there. What I'm going to do really is to encourage journalists to also engage with the management of the facility, so that the ANC does not find itself having to assume the role of suddenly becoming the spokesperson of maintenance issues at the hotel.
Well, you see, you make a good point, because yes, actually, as we speak, you should have had a person who manages this particular venue here with you, so that you exonerate yourself from the responsibility of talking on their behalf.
Well, actually, it's yourself. I think, I
wouldn't know who the people who organize this venue. You're the one who rented the venue from.
But from ourselves, I mean, the ANC, we're a big organization. There are those that are dealing with the hiring of the venue and all of that. But I'm just saying, if really Newzroom Afrika or any other media outlet was taking interest, they would also have gone out in the same way that you sometimes call analysts, people in your studios and all of that. You would have done that. You would have gone out to look for people there and put this question forward
in the dead of night.
So you are saying we must do it in the dead of night ourselves?
You know directly who you need to talk to.
Let me tell you, to show you, to demonstrate to you that there has been a conversation with the people involved. Power was restored at a certain point. And I mean, you know, Xoli, I mean, there are many things that are being plugged and all of that. So we do not want to really assume that responsibility. Okay. The Treasurer General spoke well and good in representing the position of the ANC. But Xoli, safe to say that outside the power glitch that we had, this was one of the most successful gala dinners that the ANC has ever hosted in recent times. And remember, this is the first...
On what basis do you say that?
Remember, this is the first gala dinner held physically after the 2000, after 2000, because last year we did not have a gala dinner. We hosted our...
You mean to say after 2020?
Yes, after 2020.
After the COVID, or should I say during the period of the COVID pandemic?
Yes, during the period of the COVID pandemic. I mean, the message delivered by the president was soothing, littered with renewal messages and what is expected of our structures as we forge ahead into different regional, provincial, and ultimately the National Conference of the African National Congress.
I think, Mr. Mabe, we need to wrap our conversation, but we can't do that without perhaps giving assurance to members of this party who were watching from home when this happened. Tomorrow is a very big day.
Yes, correct.
Might we expect glitches tomorrow?
Well, we're expecting that the organizers are doing everything else in their power to ensure that everything runs smooth. On the side of the ANC, our part, what we're expected to organize, we have dealt with it, everything is in order, and all of that. You see, Xoli, the ANC owns 55 Sour Street, Johannesburg, which is Lithuli House. That's our headquarters. That's what we own. We don't own hotels where we hire venues or stadiums where we conduct our rallies. So the media must never attempt to make that a problem of the African National Congress. We are hiring venues, believing that when we hire those venues, we are given the necessary certificates of occupation, which certificates suggest that everything is up to scratch.
But you see, you must be careful, Mr. Mabe. Be careful right there, because hopefully, at least for you and the comments you've just made now, there won't be any links to why the ANC has hired this venue, and it so happens somewhere down the line that there is a cadre who is the owner of this venue. So you can't utter those words so unguardedly.
No, Xoli.
So you're saying without doubt that the ANC has no links to this particular venue?
We did not speak about links of venues and all of that. You know, Xoli, I think you guys also have to be careful. You guys also have to be careful not to look for controversy even where none exists. We are dealing with the question of power glitch, not ownership of hotels. Really?
You raised the issue of ownership.
I've never done that. I've said to you that we don't have an issue with venues. Please. No.
Mr. Mabe, let's conclude our conversation.
Yes.
Let me say this to you, and that is that, can you say that this dinner was ended in the manner that the ANC wanted? In other words, people had dinner and it was concluded in a way that the ANC would have wanted in the end.
Well, I don't know if you ate. At least I ate.
No, I didn't.
Because you were here trying to look for smokes and mirrors. But we ate ourselves. We chowed. We ate, and I'm sure, music was still being played. You can see people are still here. Besides that little incident we had, we are still here. The event is continuing. It's unfolding. It was successful. There are power trips even at home where we live now and then, you know. So you can't, because you have had a power trip at home, suddenly say this house is no longer livable. No, it doesn't happen like that.
Pule Mabe, thank you very much. This is where I think it's best to end it on a lighter note, because I think it did become tense and somewhat cringe-worthy when the president had to conclude his speech by speaking at the top of his voice in darkness, basically, and trying to end his speech in a dignified manner, but honestly and without really holding back. It was embarrassing what happened here, and yes, the ANC says do not put this at the doorstep of the leadership of the ANC. You've got to speak to the organizers of the venue, or you've got to speak to the owners of the venue. So I suppose that's who then is going to have to respond, because this was not only being addressed by a president of the ANC, but a president of the country, and the country may have been watching.
Well, Mngambi, you know it's serious when we all go back to our mother tongue to explain our frustration, as Pule Mabe was just doing. For now, though, Xoli, thank you very much for that. Xoli and Ziyanda have been our team on the ground at that venue in Polokwane. I think it's a Protea hotel, isn't it, where the power went out just after 9 o'clock, in fact, tonight, towards the end of President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa's keynote address.